Here are a few of the craziest moms ever. Number 11, Amber Stevenson. In 2015, Amber Stevenson wanted to impart a crucial message upon her 6-year-old son, Jab Jab Punch. While the two shopped at Walmart, Amber got into what she considered a justified altercation with another woman named Rebecca Mills. Amber pinned Mills to the ground and then called to her son, Johnny, for backup. Apparently, rules about fair fights went right out the window when little Johnny started kicking Mills while she was down. He even emptied a bottle of shampoo on her for added effect. Amber took to Facebook and thanked her supporters for what she considered a learning lesson for Johnny. She didn't raise her kid to take no BS. Her words, not ours. According to Amber, the fight started when Mills allegedly used a racial slur towards a Walmart employee. However, footage of the altercation, which went viral in a heartbeat, did not back up her claim. Other reports say the fight started when Mills drove by in a motorized shopping cart, and Amber, wearing a YOLO shirt, felt the urge to speak up. Apparently, she didn't think Mills needed to be in a wheelchair. Police looked into both women and eventually charged Amber with several offenses. She pled guilty to neglecting a dependent, but charges for contributing to the delinquency of a minor and disorderly conduct were dropped. A judge slapped Amber with a 1-year probation and 30 hours of court-ordered community service. As for Johnny, there might be a black belt in his future. Number 10, Casey Garcia. Casey Garcia thought security at her daughter's school wasn't tight enough. So one day, she hopped out of bed and decided it was time to take action. She dressed up as her 13-year-old daughter. She dyed her hair, threw on some skin tanner, and transformed into her teenage daughter. Then, she was off to school. Once Casey showed up posing as her daughter, she walked to the front door without anyone batting an eye. She attended all her daughter's classes and even got lunch with the other students. She thought security could do a better job, and it looks like she proved her point. Finally, Casey revealed who she was to a teacher who was in total shock at the end of the day. Casey referred to the stunt as a social experiment, a clear demonstration that the school needs to improve its security. Police eventually arrested Casey at her home, charging her with trespassing and forging government records. Casey, however, stuck to her guns. She explained why she posed as her daughter in a lengthy YouTube video. She was surprised by how easy it was since the children had to wear face masks during class. The only thing teachers reprimanded her for was having her phone out during class. And Casey Garcia wasn't the only lady who posed as her daughter. We'll get to that mom a bit later. Number 9, Kimberly Quach. Kim Quach thought it was wise to sell drugs to students at Cathedral Catholic High School in San Diego, where her son was a student. She even had a partner helping her with transactions named William Sipperly III, her live-in companion. Together, the two of them used minors to transport marijuana into the school. According to police, she had about 70 underage clients between her son's school and other schools in the area. She also had a network of kids moving drugs through the halls. Quach grew her product at home, which police found after arresting her in 2017. They found plant food, grow lights, and other paraphernalia that she needed to grow weed. Caught red-handed, she pled guilty, and a judge sentenced her to almost 12 years in prison. Her sidekick Sipperly also pled guilty and faced between 6 and 10 years in prison. His charges stemmed from supplying drugs to a minor over 14 years old. Apparently, the students at Cathedral Catholic were heavy smokers. Did Quach's operation turn them into regular stoners, or did she stumble upon a profitable market? Number 8. Dee Dee Blanchard. Gypsy Rose Blanchard had a crazy mother named Dee Dee Blanchard. The mother, who experts say had a case of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, basically treated her daughter like she had every illness under the sun. Ever since Gypsy was born, Dee Dee faked the girl's conditions to amuse her own mental illness. As Gypsy grew, her conditions did not improve. Her darling even had people believe that Gypsy used a motorized wheelchair because of her illnesses. People questioned whether Gypsy really needed a wheelchair. Her mother moved them to another state. Once settled in Missouri, Dee Dee continued her old ways by convincing everyone Gypsy was sick 24/7. It was one illness after the other. Gypsy became more rebellious towards Dee Dee as she got older and wanted to walk again. So, Gypsy concocted a reasonably easy plan to deal with her mother once and for all. Gypsy started talking to Nicholas Gojon on a Christian dating site. The two of them hit it off, and Gypsy decided to take their relationship up a notch by asking Nicholas to take her mother out. You know, like James Bond. She explained how poorly her mother treated her, and she thought Nicholas could be her ticket to end all that. In 2015, he went to Dee Dee's home while Gypsy was there and fulfilled Gypsy's wishes. Eventually, Gypsy and Nicholas were arrested in Wisconsin. Now, Gypsy is serving a 10-year sentence and is eligible for parole in 2024. On the other hand, Nicholas was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Number 7. Victoria Hidalgo. It was Thanksgiving night. Victoria Hidalgo thought it was a good idea to fire off a weapon in her home. For no apparent reason, she fired a round into her front door. The worst detail was the infant baby left alone in the crib. After the shooting, Victoria thought it would be an excellent time to head down to an Irish pub called the Paddy Wagon, where she could have a few cold ones. She decided to call her sister at the bar to tell her what had just happened at home. Eventually, her sister stopped by the house, where she discovered the bullet hole in the front door and Victoria's baby inside. She called their mother, who then notified police. Hidalgo's 2-year-old son suffered from several medical conditions. Fresh off brain surgery, the young boy could not walk on his own. The investigation led them to Victoria, who was being driven around by a guy she'd met at the bar. He told police he was concerned for her safety and offered to drive her home. When the police saw Victoria, her eyes were bloodshot. She was slurring her speech. The shooting at her house with her baby inside was not a concern anymore. Victoria was arrested and released on bond after police charged her with child neglect. Her baby was handed over to a family member as police continued the investigation. Number 6. Jill Easter. Jill Easter felt she could change her name to Ava Everhart, and you're probably wondering why. Well, that's because Jill decided to commit a crime, and she got busted, so she thought it would be best to change her identity after becoming a convict. She, Jill, or Ava, whichever you prefer, apparently had a disagreement with the PTA president Kelly Peters of her child's school. She felt that Peters had made a wisecrack at her son's expense when she referred to him as being slow. This remark set Jill off, and she threw a tantrum like any mature adult. The woman flipped out and started accusing Peters of being mean to her son. She supposedly made anti-Peters flyers and started handing them out at school. She even said that Peters was threatening to hurt her family. Then one day, Jill and her husband Kent took their resentment towards Peters to another level. The two of them thought it would be a great idea to plant drugs in Peters' car and then call the cops on her. Well, the plan backfired, because the cops showed up at the school and were soon hot on Jill's trail. Eventually, she and her husband got busted when the cops used cell phone data to put the two of them at Peters' house the night before planting the drugs. The two of them wound up getting divorced, and they both served several months in jail on top of owing Peters $5.7 million for compensatory damages. For the full story on Jill and Kent Easters, aka the couple from hell, be sure to check out this video. Number 5. Sarah Beam. Sarah Beam took the whole social distancing thing a little too far when her son tested positive for COVID. Beam, a teacher in Houston, Texas, stuck her son in the trunk of the car and brought him to get a COVID test. She drove him to a nearby testing site where she wanted her son to receive additional testing. When they arrived at the testing site, an employee approached the vehicle. Sarah explained that she wanted additional testing done on her son, who was already positive with COVID. Since the employee didn't see her son in the car, they asked where he was. Sarah, the loving mother that she is, told the workers he's in the trunk. Her reasoning for stuffing her son in the trunk of the car? She didn't want to get COVID. No, Beam wasn't driving a hatchback, at least not the way the police describe it. She stuck her son in the trunk of a sedan. Those trunks are made to crumble in the event of a crash, not to mention lack of seatbelts. After checking the trunk, the employee discovered Beam's son was okay. The employee then contacted the local authorities and made them aware of the situation. Since then, Sarah has been placed on administrative leave. However, no charges have been filed against her at this time. Number 4. Miss Caranda. After baking a batch of brownies, Michael Caranda laid them out on the stove to cool off. Proud of his accomplishment, he left the room and went to bed to dream about how good those brownies would taste. That's when things went south for Caranda. When he woke up, he discovered the whole pan of brownies was missing. His elderly mother decided to take the brownies to a senior community center to share with her friends on card night. However, his mom didn't know one tiny detail about these brownies. They were loaded with marijuana. So the senior citizens got a healthy dose of THC. Instead of playing cards, they were probably having conversations with them. Staff at the community center noticed the patients acting unusual, so they alerted the cops. It didn't take long for police to connect the dots, realizing the pot brownies made the patients full of life. Caranda's mother handed over the remaining brownies, but the police weren't done. They paid a visit to his home, slapped the cuffs on. See, marijuana isn't legal in South Dakota. Caranda just got back from Colorado, where he bought a pound of THC butter. He used half in the brownie batch and saved the other. Police released him on a $3,000 bond. Thankfully, nobody was harmed after eating the brownies, possibly just reminded of the good old days. Number 3. Aaron Garcia. Aaron Garcia's 8-year-old daughter knows just how dangerous drinking and driving can be. Aaron was about to leave her mother's house after a long night of drinking when her daughter tried to stop her. She grabbed onto the passenger side door to get in the car. But instead of listening to her daughter's pleas, Aaron backed out of the driveway, carrying her daughter almost 300 feet. A bystander saw what was happening and ran to the young girl's rescue. Garcia dragged him a short distance too. The bystander and the young girl finally got free of the car while Aaron took off down the street. They were taken to the hospital and treated for minor injuries. On the other hand, Aaron returned to her mother's house while still under the influence, with the entire neighborhood looking for her. She decided to hide in the bushes. When police arrived at the grandmother's house, they found Aaron pretty quickly as she didn't pick the perfect bush. First, she resisted arrest, but finally relaxed and was taken into custody. Police hit her with various charges, ranging from assault with a deadly weapon to child endangerment. Number 2. Laura O'Gillespie. Laura O'Gillespie must have been really jealous of her daughter. The middle-aged Missouri mom stole her daughter, Lauren's, identity to have all sorts of fun being 22 years old again. She enrolled in college, took out loans, and even got a driver's license in her daughter's name. She embezzled $25,000 worth of loans with her new identity and got plenty of young men to fall for her ruse. However, the actual victims at the heart of her con were Avery and Wendy Parker. They'd taken her in from a local women's shelter and believed they were helping a young woman in need. They treated Oglesby like a daughter, having no idea how ironic their sentiment truly was. Red flags popped up for the Parkers, but investigators were already hot on Oglesby's trail. They pulled her over during a routine traffic stop and forced her to come clean. The fake 22-year-old was working at a local library when she was arrested. She faced up to 5 years in prison, along with making restitution payments on the loan she took out in her daughter's name. But how did her daughter not know what was going on? The two had grown estranged, and Laura moved to West Plains, Missouri, 2 hours north. With all of her daughter's personal information on hand, obtaining the proper paperwork wasn't hard. Ogilvy's actions completely caught the university off guard. It's also unclear whether or not she ever attended any classes. They cooperated fully with the investigation and are also expecting restitution payments. As for the Parkers, they can't help but feel ill will for the 45-year-old woman who lied to them. However, they feel sorry for the 22-year-old they thought they were helping. Number 1. Lynn Savage. Lynn Savage refused to leave her daughter's bedside as she recovered from brain surgery in a hospital. From sunup to sundown, Lynn remained with her daughter for as long as she could until the hospital staff notified her that visiting hours ended at 7 p.m. given COVID rules. That's when Lynn put up a fight and refused to leave her daughter. The staff asked security to remove her from the hospital, but she wouldn't budge. Eventually, the police had to be called, and they wound up cuffing Lynn and taking her to jail. She spent a day behind bars, but stood by her actions, saying she would do it all over again for her daughter. Yep, what a savage. Click here to watch one of these next videos. And definitely don't forget to tell your mom you love them. Let us know in the comments section what the craziest thing your mom's ever done for you.